Hey everyone, my name is David. I am the music teacher who blogs at makemomentsmatter.org. You can also find me obviously here on Facebook, on Pinterest, on Instagram. I'm trying to share a lot more on Instagram photos from my classroom and videos and things, and Twitter and some other places. You can also find me on my podcast, which is Make Moments Matter, a music education podcast. That's in the Apple iTunes Store, Stitcher, TuneIn, SoundCloud. And I just love sharing about music ed, which is why I'm here tonight to share with you just a little bit. I'm here to talk about all my lessons for the week, and then I'm going to focus specifically on first grade. So that's my plan for the week. I just wanted to remind you all that if you're watching and you get really interested in a specific aspect about what I'm talking about, maybe one of the lessons or one of the songs or something else, hopefully somewhere in the caption for this video, down at the bottom should be a link to a page on my blog, and that page is sort of a Musical Mondays recap. And on that page I'm going to have all of the, if I talk about a song, I'll have a link to the book, or if I have a website or an app or something, I'll have a link to that. There are some of those, well, all the links for the previous weeks, but also there are some links, well, no, there are no links for today because I haven't talked about today, but all the links for last week. And then as soon as I finish the broadcast today, I'll go in and add in links for things I talk about today. So I know a lot of people in the first couple weeks were like, hey, that's a cool song, where'd you get that? Or, hey, that's a cool blog post, I'd love to learn more about that. Well, I went in and put those links in there. So that's there. If you go to my blog, which is makemomentsmatter.org, you can click on the videos tab, and down at the bottom it says Musical Mondays Recap. Or you can click the link that should be somewhere hovering in the caption for this video, wherever it is. Depending on your device, it might be in a different place. Okay, so just a couple things, because I've had a busy weekend. I was really excited. I got to go to Alabama this last week and share with the East Alabama music educators and share a really exciting workshop about centers and small groups. If you're interested in more information about that, I'm doing that same workshop again in 3 weeks on September 15th for District 7 of the Georgia Music Educators Association. If you're not a member of District 7, you can still come. There's a link to that workshop. Sign up on my blog, makemomentsmatter.org, under the About Me. And I'm also doing a different workshop for the South Carolina Foothills chapter of the South Carolina Foothills ORF chapter, sorry, and that is on October 13th. And that's a different workshop all about folk songs and all the cool stuff you can do with it. If you're interested in that, like I said, there's a link to their website on my blog, makemomentsmatter.org, if you click on About Me. Okay, enough talking about that. I already see a lot of people leaving fun comments, and hopefully as we go along, if you have questions, leave questions in the comment box, and even if I don't get to answer them live, I will definitely go back either tonight. I do that with a glass of wine and I answer your questions. Or if I don't do that tonight, I'll do it in the coming weeks. So if you watch this video 5 weeks from now and you have a question, leave your question and I will probably come back and answer that. Those comments and those questions help us sort of act more like a community, and it's less like me just talking to my iPad alone in my home office, but more like we're a community talking together. And I already see people saying like, hey, to my friend from wherever, and it's sort of fun to see. So leave those comments and leave those questions, and if you have any pressing questions, you can either send me a direct message or I'll answer that later. So in this video, I'm going to give a brief overview of all my kindergarten through 5th grade lessons, and then I'm going to do a deep dive on 1st grade to share a little bit more about all of the stuff and the puppets and things that I use for 1st grade. And then if there are comments or questions at the end that I can get to, I'll definitely get to all of those. So here's the quick overview. Kindergarten, week 3, lesson 3. I mean, I've been in school for a long time. This is my fourth full week, and I'm on my 3rd lesson. I envy all of you people who see kids every other day. But it's my 3rd time seeing them, so they like know who I am, sort of, so that's exciting. They come in, I've already talked in my previous videos about the Choo-Choo train song. I do that when they come in. The only difference is, well, and the reason I do that is that they come in a line, and we stay in our line to be the train. And so I can sort of march them around the room and sing that short little song, and they think it's really fun. But by the time I'm done leading them around the room, because I'm the engine and I know where the tracks are and they have to follow the train tracks, I have them in a circle. And so it just sort of relieves some of the chaos of them coming in and not knowing what to do and me saying, like, let's make a circle, let's make a circle. They just stay in their line. So we do the Choo-Choo Train song, and this time instead of doing the woo, woo for our whistle, I have hidden in my pocket a train whistle. And I say the first couple times when we do woo, woo, I'm like, man, you sound so realistic, that's so great. Woo, woo. The next time, oh man, you sound so realistic. And the next time I play the whistle, and I go, oh, how did you do that? You sound so realistic. And by that time I've like hidden it back by my side, and they're like, it's really funny. Then I do it again, and eventually someone's like, you have a whistle. So that's a hoot. We sit down, we do engine number 9. I talked about that 2 weeks ago when I did a deep dive on kindergarten. And I talked about how I do the poem, and then I add a B section that just goes choo, 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 choo. And so we do that, and they think that's really fun. And I add in, since I have my whistle, I add in just a doot, doot, doot at the end of the engine sound to signal we're going back and doing the poem again. So we sort of do an A, B, A, B, A, B setup for poem, and then the sounds, and poem, and then the sounds, and then the tooting on the whistle is their signal, like, we're going to go back and say the poem again. And it's sort of an A, B, A, because I always end with the engine number 9 poem. So since I've got my whistle, my train whistle, once we're done with engine number 9, we're in our circle sitting down, and I switch from a train whistle to a slide whistle. That's sort of fun, and then we mimic that and do a little bit of that, some vocal glides. We move to a new part of the room and do open shut them again. I talked about that last time. And again, open shut them is just so that they are in control of their hands. And I make it all about, oh, I'm so proud of all the people who are in control of their hands. Show me you can open them, and now you can shut them. You can open them, you can shut them. And so it's all about the kids doing the right thing with their hands. And I sort of make a big deal out of that. At this time, there's that B section that goes, creep them, creep them, creep them up to your chin, chin, chin. And like I said, I did this 2 weeks ago in my video, so I'm not going to go all the way through that song again. But instead of going actually up to my chin, I go up to your chin, chin, chin. And they're like, wait, that's not your chin, that's your ear. Oh, I'm so sorry. Let me try that again. Up to your chin, chin, chin. Wait, Mr. Al, that's not your chin, that's your shoulder. Oh, I'm so sorry. I do that about 4 or 5 times. Couple reasons. One, when they catch me doing that, they're like, oh, we're smart, we can help, and they think that's fun. Second, I get to introduce different body part names for those English language learners or kids who don't have a great handle on vocabulary. So I might do eyebrow or shoulder or something else, so that I'm introducing that vocabulary. It helps. Any time you can do like head, shoulders, knees, and toes or whatever for kids who are learning vocabulary, that's helpful. So I do that, but also they like it because like they're catching me and they're helping me. So we do that. It's just a finger play, so we're using our hands, and that segues to Where is Thumpkin. We do Where is Thumpkin. They love that. I'm pretty sure I did a video about a year ago about that song, so I'll put a link to that so you can sort of see how I process through that if you're interested. And last week in my lessons we met Peter the rabbit, who tells kids about their speaking voice. And so this time we meet Flitter the butterfly, who talks to them about their whisper voice. And that is hilarious. And they don't want to scare off Flitter because butterflies, you know, if you get too loud or too close or move too fast, they freak out. And so Flitter is their connection to whisper voice, and they love it. And so then we go and we spread out. And if they hold their finger, once we've gone like through and talked about Flitter, if they hold their finger like this, Flitter will fly over and land on their finger. And if they whisper their voice to Flitter, she'll whisper it back. Helps me learn voices, helps them do whisper voice, gives them a personal connection. It's super fun. And by that time, we're out of time for the lesson. I'm not going to do a quick overview of first grade because I'm going to do a deep dive on first grade, so I'll come back to that. Second grade, when they come in, we make a circle, we do our circle song. And this is what I did with kindergarten too, but I forgot to mention it. We do an attendance check, and I'm going to talk about that in first grade. And it's just simple, it's fun. We do Charlie Over the Ocean. I teach that just sort of as a song about a boy who lives near the ocean. I love adding narratives to things, so I make this about the narrative and less about just being a song. And I sing the song without any echoing at first. Charlie over the ocean, Charlie over the sea, Charlie caught a big fish, can't catch me. And if you know that song, you know that it should go Charlie over the ocean, Charlie over the ocean, Charlie over the sea, Charlie over the sea. But instead of me actually letting them do that the first time, I just sing it all without a break. And then I say, I need your help. And then we get into me singing and then them singing back. That evolves into talking about Charlie and what he's doing at the ocean. He's probably fishing. And then we say, like, who's singing that song? Charlie caught a big fish, Charlie caught a big fish, can't catch me, can't catch me. So who is singing that? Who is singing that Charlie can't catch them? Well, it's a fish, probably. It's a little fish. And so we sing about Charlie's fishing, and I say, now I'm going to go fishing. And there's a game where you walk around, and on the last word, you tap someone and run. And then it's like duck, duck, goose, basically. But I say to the kids, the difference is on duck, duck, goose, you can go duck, 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 and choose who you want to be the goose. This time the song chooses for you. It's the very last word. You don't get to choose who you want to tap. It's just whoever you're closest to on the last me, you just tap them and then go. And so that's what we do with that. When we do that several times through, I back off. I don't sit in a circle. I stand apart and play my guitar. It's a way for me to introduce or bring the guitar in when maybe I don't use it as much with the younger grades, so it's fun for them to do that. But then they also love playing that game. Like, they love playing that game. That's also my chance with the second graders when they're like, it's so exciting, they're running. And I say, oh, that was so great, except yesterday when I was doing this song with my other class, when I got to can't catch me, and the kids running, they're going, go, 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 go. Our principal, Mr. Friedman, rushed in and went, what's wrong? And we said, nothing's wrong. And he said, I heard yelling in here. I was sure that there was an emergency that I was needed for. And we said, oh no, we're sorry. There was no emergency. We were just very excited about our game. Oh, okay. Well then, keep going. And then that same class, they sang, and then when the kids were running, they yelled again, go, 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 go! And Mr. Friedman came back in and went, what's wrong? Is there an emergency? And we had to say, no, we're really sorry. So my other class learned you can't yell there. You can be very excited, and you can talk or act very excited, but you can't yell because one of our principals might come in. That's just one of the things that I do to sort of like reinforce good expectations about classroom behavior as we're doing the song, and they think it's funny that other class got in trouble, or they like, oh yeah, we better not do that because Mr. Friedman might come in. I don't know, it's silly. Not true. That never happened. But I tell my classes that because they believe it and they think it's fun. So then once we're done with that, every time Charlie, who runs around and chases around, gets to do the next Charlie and the next Charlie, the last kid who chases but doesn't get to be Charlie feels sort of left out. And so that kid, I say, you have a special job. When you say the word go, all the kids are going to stand up and spread out to a personal space. But they're not going to do it until you say go. And then I turn around and start putting my guitar away like, it's on you. And so I sort of, and then that kid gets to say go, and they all sort of scatter out. So then from then on, we do a song from Greg and Steve's CD, Kids in Motion, called The Freeze, where we're playing with scarves and moving around with scarves, and then when the song stops, they have to stop and freeze. And if they do anything, even to like, if they're throwing the scarf up in the air and it goes freeze, and they like reach out their hand to let the scarf fall on them, they're out. So it's a fun song, they like it, and I say, but I'm doing the song because I want to test your ears and see how good your ears are, because you have to listen, and when that music stops, you have to stop. So I'm testing your ears, I'm going to be watching, and if you move, that means your ears didn't hear it, and you're going to have to sit out. So that sort of sets the stage, because after this, I go into an activity where I give them a bag of popsicle sticks and 4 little stars, to sort of simulate 4 beats. And the next thing that we do is listen to, maybe I'll clap, maybe I'll use a recorder, maybe I'll use an instrument, but I give them 4 beats worth of sounds, and they have to do long and short sounds with popsicle sticks. It's sort of on the way to dictating quarter notes and eighth notes. But instead, it's just sounds using popsicle sticks. And I have the big popsicle sticks and the little mini ones. If you've never seen them, they're really cool, and I can post a link to that. But it's just, the freeze is I'm testing your ears, and then I'm actually testing if they can hear it, and put the right thing. I try and use a lot of different things. I'll use a recorder. I'll use, so like short and long sounds. I try and give them lots of examples because maybe some kids are really good with the body percussion and other kids are really good at the melodic examples and other kids are really good if I'm singing or whatever. But I like to throw out a lot of examples for them to listen for different things. And then by the time we finish that, we're sort of out of time. Third grade comes in, they sit on their dot spots, I do a quick attendance. I've talked already about my mom was a baker. And several of you have emailed me and asked, like, what are the verses for that? So thanks. If you're interested in that, I'll send you that. But this time we do all 6 verses. So Mama was a baker, Papa was Daddy was a garbage man, Sister was an actress, Brother was a cowboy, Grandma was a tickler, and Grandpa was a snorer. We go through all 6 today. We talk about the word cumulative and how we keep adding in new things. The last time we only did 4, now we're doing 6. We could keep going. And I introduced cumulative because that's a form word that I need to talk about in 2nd grade. And then we do a little song that I learned in my ORF Level 1 called New Shoes. And it's not my song, so I can't share it here because it belongs to someone else. But I'll just say that it's a song that makes kids work in groups of 2, and then they have to rotate and move around. And so basically the whole point of it is it's a so mi do la song. So it fits right in with what I'm trying to do with them, but also it forces them to have to work with different pairs and different partners. And so that's still something that I'm doing at the beginning of the year, is encouraging kids to be okay working with other kids. So they like that song. They think it's super fun. If we have any extra time, we practice steady beat in different parts of our body, with our hands, with our feet, moving, not moving, if we have time. Sometimes we don't, sometimes we do. It depends on the class and depends on their needs. 4th grade, we come in, we do our attendance check. I've talked already before about the song Chester. This time I add in, by now this is week 3, they've done it several times, they're good at it, they like it. This is the song where the body parts, Chester, have you eared about Harry, Chest got back from the army, and so the body parts match the song. It's a song, a melody they should know. But this time I sit down, I do it once with them to rehash the actions, and then I sit down at the piano and I play. And I don't sing, I watch them. And this time I say, I'm going to be checking, I'm just going to watch and see, and then they do it once. I'm like, oh, you did it so good. Now it's your turn. And you are going to do something sort of special. I know that you know the word evaluate. You know when people say evaluation. Like you've done evaluations before, and we talk about their testing, their state testing or whatever, and how that's really an evaluation where someone is watching them or listening to them or looking at their work to see how they've done. And today, they are going to evaluate, but they're not going to evaluate someone else, they're going to evaluate themselves. And so I say, I need you to monitor yourself and evaluate what you do. And you're going to sing, and you're going to do the actions, and you're going to do great. But if you accidentally sing the wrong thing, like if you go, Chester, have you eared about Harry, Chest got back from the Navy, or whatever, you say the wrong thing. Rats, I said the wrong thing. Then you know you did, and that's okay. And if you notice that you sang the wrong thing, just have a seat. That will show me that you noticed that you sang the wrong thing, or maybe had a little mess up, which is fine, mistakes are fine, but just for today, you're going to have a seat. And I say the same thing for the actions. If you go, Chester, have you eared about Harry? Chest got back from the army. If you catch yourself doing the wrong thing, just sit down. That shows me that you know that you sang or did the wrong action, or did the action wrong, and you're just going to sit down. You can keep singing and you'll get another chance to try again. But I just want to see if you can evaluate yourself. And so we go through and we do that once. And actually, I speed up playing. I start slow and then I speed up. and that eliminates all but 2. And the first time through, I watch for the first kid to sit down, and I watch for the last kid standing. And afterwards I say, and now I have a prize. And I point to those 2 kids and I say, it's really scary to be the last person standing because everybody's watching you while they're singing. That's a scary thing. But that means that you have done a really great job singing with the actions. So you're going to get a prize. And it is really scary to be the first one to admit that maybe you made a mistake and to sit down. And because you were so honest, you get a prize too. And so those 2 kids, they come up, and my prize, I don't do hard candies or things like that. I do, if I'm going to do candy, which my school still allows, I do pixie sticks because it's like the one thing, except for food coloring, that kids can't be allergic to. They can't choke on it, and almost every kid likes it. I mean, why wouldn't they? It's like pure sugar. So anyway, they split it. Those 2 kids, each one gets a half of a stick, and then they eat it, and I say, oh, good, now we're going to try that song again, but neither of these kids can win because they've already won. So that gives everyone else 2 more chances to win. So then we do it again, and this time they know that there's a prize. I don't tell them about the prize the first time because I want them to actually evaluate what they're doing, and I want that to be the focus. But the second time, after they've seen, oh, someone's going to win something, well, then they expect that. So then we actually do it, and a lot more kids try a little harder, which is sort of cool. So we do Chester. That takes maybe 10 or 15 minutes, maybe a little longer, depending on how quickly they got in and all of that. And then I do another poem from my level 1 ORF class. Oh my gosh, 2 lessons in a row where I use material from my ORF levels. You should go take your ORF levels. Easy plug for that. But it's called Bed Bugs, and it's, again, it's not mine, so I can't share it, but I will say that there's a poem, and then there are 2 speech ostinati, so just repeated speech patterns. And what we do with it is that we teach all 3 parts, we perform all 3 parts sort of going together at the same time, and then the kids get to create a movement that goes with each part. So I separate them into groups, and each group gets to do a little movement. And that is super fun for them. They are dubious at first, but they really like it. And then 5th grade, I talked last time about Alabama Gal and how I go through all of that. So this time, that's the first thing we do after attendance is we hand out ties, we find partners, we go through Alabama Gal, and this time I run it all the way through so that every kid gets a chance to be the Magic 2, or the head couple, but I don't use the word couple. I use the kids at the top. They get to go down and back, and they get to go in and out, and then they get to be the ones who make the arch at the end where everyone gets to run through. And kids love that. And so this time, because last time that was our focus for the lesson, this time I make sure that everybody gets a chance to be the kids at the top and to do the fun stuff. Because last time usually we run out of time, and that's okay in the first time through, so this time I make sure of that. And then we do a fun little song that I learned from Amy Abbott, who is amazing, and it's called Shanghai Chicken. I learned it at her workshop last year. And it's a fun little song. You can find it on her blog, and I'll put a link to that. And it's an easy song. I could probably do it with another grade, but I'm doing it with 5th grade on purpose because of what I add at the end. So basically, it's just a fun little song about a chicken that grows really super huge. And then what I do is I take, and this is an Amy Abbott idea, I take my egg shakers and I do a little passing thing where I'm tossing and passing, and at the end of the song you toss to the person on your side, and then everybody gets a little egg, and it's super duper awesome fun, right? So what I like to do, because it's basically like you're passing it back and forth to the steady beat, and then you toss it at the end to the person next to you. Well then, after we've done it all the way once, I have them toss it the other way. Instead of going all the way to your right, you toss to your left. Or maybe we toss it at a different interval, or we toss it faster or slower, depending on, more times in the song or less times in the song. And then I give them time at the end, and I say, I'm going to give you just a few minutes, and you're going to come up with your own passing pattern. And that is hilarious to watch. I give them options, I show them how to do it, and then they get to break out into small groups and do that. And the creativity is so cool. So I'm going to put a link to Amy's blog, because that is a really, really fun lesson. Okay, that's my quick deep dive into all my lessons for the week, and I see some people have written some things, which is great. Let's see. Bedbugs is great. Yes, thank you, Denise. I don't know what I just did. I agree, it's so good. I love that you use recorders for it. I'd love to know how you do that. Let's see. Finishing level 3 this summer. Good for you. Amy says take ORF levels. Yes, absolutely. Freeze with scarves. Yeah, I learned that from my cooperating teacher years ago, Debbie Gray, who's really wonderful. I put a link to her book a couple weeks ago. Yes, English language learners, totally worth catering to them and all kids, honestly. Okay, thanks for your comments. Keep leaving them. Thanks for your questions. Keep leaving them. If I don't answer them as I'm going through, I will answer them at the end. Okay, so let me talk about first grade. So I like primary grades. Maybe you've noticed that by watching this or listening to my podcast or whatever. I like primary grades. I like K1 and 2. I also like 3, 4, and 5, but I feel like there are a lot of people who are like, yeah, I like 3, 4, and 5, but I just don't have to do with K and 1. Well, I like K and 1. And so I'm excited to share about first grade. Okay, so when they come in, we come into our circle song. Come and make a circle, circle, circle. And I shared about that a couple weeks ago. If you have a question about that one or want the music for that, send me a message. And then once they're in the circle, then I say, okay, well now I'm going to do a fun little song, and it goes like this. Where are my students? And when you hear your name, you're going to go, here I am. Let's try. Where are first grade students? And they go, here I am. And I go, there you are. Where are the kids wearing blue? Here I am. There you are. Where are students? Here I am. There you are. And then I go through kid by kid, because this is something that I need to do attendance for all my grades. It's just something that I do personally. I don't know that my school necessarily requires it, but when I only see kids once every 8 days, if they miss a day, I think that's sort of good for me to know. So if they always check out at the end of the day and I've seen them never, well then how do I give them a grade at the end of the quarter? So that's good data to have, like they weren't here. So I always check and do my attendance also in case there's a fire or something and I need to have a good record of who's there so that when I get outside I'm not freaking out. So what I do then is I would do like, where is Denise? Here I am. There you are. Where is Garrett? Here I am. There you are. And they love it because I'm not asking them to sing it yet. I probably will. But they're just going, here I am. And they're saying it, and they're doing just them, and they think that's fun. And I go, there you are, and I point to you like, oh, I can't see any of you, or what, like, I don't know where anyone is. And honestly, with 1,200 students, a lot of times I don't know who is yet, because there are new people or whatever, and so it's like, where is Camden? I don't know. There you are, good. So it's funny for me, but also they like it because they get to respond back. And it's quick, and it's super fun, and I'll be able to use that again and have them sing back to me later if I want. And then, I did this last week, but I have this awesome bee puppet from Folk Manus. There are maybe going to be some Folk Manus puppets, like several. Okay, so I have this fun little bee, and he has 6 legs actually. There's one that my finger doesn't fit into, but that it can be a stinger or whatever. That could just be the one that goes there that I don't have a finger in. So this little bee, he comes around and we do the poem Bee, Bee, Bumblebee, and it goes, Bee, bee, bumblebee, stung a man upon his knee, stung a pig upon his snout. I say you are out. Now that's the original, and when I teach it to them, I go, stung a man upon his knee. Psst, ow! And then I have a little pig puppet that I pull out, and he's like, wait, why am I here for a poem about a bumblebee? I don't like the sound of this. I didn't bring him along tonight. Sad. A missed moment for a puppet. I'll have to bring him next time. Anyway, so then he gets stung on the snout, but we did all of this last week. So I just start and recap the game. I just say the poem once, they say it with me, and then I go around and I do it with kids. So each steady beat is a tap on a kid's head, and I'm tapping with the little bumblebee, and he sort of lands lightly on their head. Bee, bee, bumblebee, stung a man upon his knee, and I go all the way around the circle. I think the original just goes, I say you are out, and that kid sits down. Well, guess what? I don't have enough time for that to do every kid. So instead, I say, you are out. That person is still in. And then I go, bzz, 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 bzz. And I buzz 4 kids. And all those 4 kids, if you got buzzed, you got to sit down. And so then that means I go through the circle a whole lot faster. Otherwise, I'm going to be walking around for like 8 years trying to get all the kids out. I usually do it 2 times through, and I end up with one last kid standing. That last kid standing, their cool prize is they get to tell all the other kids to stand up, and then all the kids will stand up. And then they get to say to all the other kids, or they get to decide, instead of starting with Joey, this time the poem is going to start with Amelia, or whatever. They get to choose where the bee starts the poem. And I say you can start it anywhere except with the person who it started with last time. And that hopefully will ensure that someone else will win. I don't know. Not always, but I don't think I've ever had a kid win twice in a row. Anyway, so they get to decide who the poem starts with, and they think that's super fun. So the bee is a big hit. It doesn't quite fit my hand. So I have to keep like tugging on it to make it fit. But it's really, I think, made for a kid's hand, or someone whose hand is not made to play Rachmaninoff, and mine are. So anyway, it'll probably be great for you. I'll put a link to this in the show notes. It was not expensive, and I love it. Okay, so we do Bee, Bee, Bumblebee. And then after we played that, which really, after a couple times, I asked them to say the poem with me. And then if they're ready, they can pat on their knees, they can pat the steady beat. So then I have them scatter around, and then we do a little bit of steady beat. They keep the beat on their knees, they keep the beat on their shoulders, they keep the beat on the top of their head. Sometimes we'll clap it, we'll keep it in different places, and then I go. And while they're doing that, I have an instrument. I have a shake-array, or I have a kaksiksi, I don't know if that's how you say that, or I have a cowbell or whatever, and I'm giving them different things to listen to that have the steady beat, and they're keeping it somewhere in their body. Because it's a good thing to review and go with. So then, after we've done that, for a little bit, they're keeping it while they're sitting, crisscrossed, then I say, I have an idea. Stand up. So they stand up, and I say, now I want you to keep the beat on the tip of your toe by tapping your toe. And so then they tap their toe, and then I say, I wonder if you can do it while walking. Your body's not going to move, but you're going to stay in your space, but your feet are going to go up and down. But your body's not going to move. You're not going to be locomotor, you're not going to go around the room, but your feet are going to move. So then they do that. Can you do it stomping? And I pull out a drum or something, and they stomp. And then we get into locomotor movement, and I say, now your body is going to take you somewhere. Your feet are going to take you somewhere. They're not just going to go up and down. This time they're going to go forward or backwards or sideways, and they're going to move. And so we do that with the steady beat. And they think that's hilarious. It really, honestly, it sounds involved, but it takes maybe 4 minutes, 5 minutes. I tend to have a set of like 1 or 2 non-pitch percussion, like 1 or 2 shakers or 1 or 2 maracas or whatever, just sitting out on a shelf, sort of by my front door, so I can just grab one and use it as needed. And that's fun because kids can see them all the time. There are instruments going in and out and changing in and out, and I change them every rotation. But also it's quick and easy for me to use. And I find the more that they're out, the more I use them. So that whole process only takes just a few minutes, but it's good reinforcement for kids, not only keeping the steady beat, but movement, locomotor and non-locomotor. Also, they're hearing different instruments. All good review for kids. So we do that, and then we finally are going around, and then I stop, and then I say, you're going to keep them, keep the beat non-locomotor, so we keep the beat non-locomotor, and they say, now, you've done so good keeping the beat on your head, and keeping it on your shoulders, keeping it on your tummy, keeping it on your knees. That's so great. Now I'm going to quiz you. You already did this, but I'm going to quiz you. Point to your head. Great. That's exactly where you kept the beat. Point to your knees. Oh, perfect. Point to the spot on your toes where you kept the... Oh, perfect. Point to your elbow. Point to your wrist. And we didn't keep the beat there, but it's just a transition. Point to whatever, and then I'm just pointing things out of order, and then I start saying, point to your head, point to your shoulders, point to your knees, point to your toes, point to your knees, point to your toes. Oh, good. Point to your head, point to your shoulders, point to your knees, point to your toes, to your knees, to your toes. Point to your eyes, to your ears, to your mouth, to your nose. Oh my goodness, I'm so impressed. You're doing such a wonderful job. And that obviously transitions into head, shoulders, knees, and toes. And a lot of kids know that one already, so this is sort of an easier lesson. Some kids don't, and they just sort of pick it up as we go. But instead of teaching it like phrase by phrase, a lot of kids know this one, so we just sort of barrel through, and the kids who need to learn it, learn it. But we do it. I demonstrate, I sing with them and do the movements the first time, the first couple times, and I say, I don't think you need me to do these actions. I wonder if I could sit down and play the piano while you sing. And they're like, oh yeah, we're good at this. Okay, great. So then I sit down, I play piano, and they sing and they do the actions. And after a time, I stand up and I go, you're doing so good. I have an idea. This time, we're going to sing all of the words, except don't say the word head. You can sing it, but just don't let the sound out of your mouth. It's going to sound like this. Shoulders, knees, and toes, knees and toes. Shoulders, knees, and toes, knees and toes. Eyes and ears and mouth and nose. Shoulders, knees, and toes, knees and toes. And most of the kids who know the song haven't done that before, I guess. I don't know. But they seem surprised. So that's, I don't know, win for me. But they like that. So we take that out. I do that with them. And then I say, that's so good. This time, take out head and shoulders. Try it. And so they do it. And then eventually they get good enough that sometimes for the class I can stop demoing with them, and sometimes I can sit back at the piano. Sometimes I just need to keep doing that. So we go all the way through, we take everything out by the end, and then we put it all back in one more time. Because when you just take it all the way out, that's fun, but it feels like it's missing something, so we always go back and do the whole thing all the way back normal, the original way again. Head, shoulders, knees, and toes. So then they sit down and they're like, oh, whew, that was good. And I go, you know what? When we were singing like this, it made me think of our friend who loves doing things quietly. Do you remember last year we had that one friend who came and visited, and she talked to us about being quiet and using a very quiet voice, and some of them were like, oh my gosh, Flitter, because they remember from last year what we did. And that's what I explained already in the little kindergarten recap. But Flitter, and I am so sorry, this is an ugly pup. Flitter comes back out. I have an upgrade, just you'll see. This is so old. This was in like my puppet box when I was little. And yes, I had a puppet box when I was little, so don't judge me. But, or don't be jealous, I guess, because you didn't have one. So Flitter comes out and talks about whisper voice. It's really a recap because we did all the 4 voices last year in kindergarten, but there are some kids who maybe weren't with us and didn't do it or whatever. So Flitter does whisper voice and says, oh my goodness, but guess what? I met a new friend who also, guess what? I also met a new friend who loves his whisper voice. Because Flitter does everything in a whisper voice. Or like a stage whisper. Oh, guess what? I met another... And so Flitter, we talk about our friend who she met, who also loves their whisper voice. And then I pull out, and this is my new favorite thing, I pull out this puppet. And I say, I found this little guy out in the garden. My room happens to be next to our school garden. I found this guy out in the garden. And yesterday, he said his name was Roly-Poly, I think. Yesterday, he told me about how he loves his whisper voice. Maybe he'll say it to you. Hello, my name is Tumbly Bumbly. Wait, I thought you said your name was Roly-Poly. Well, now it's Tumbly Bumbly. Why is it now Tumbly Bumbly? Well, I've been changing, and so is my name. Changes just happen sometimes. And I like this because Flitter's voice is high whisper, and this is sort of like a low whisper, so it's just a different thing for them to listen to. Also, we're talking about how he's changing, and he inches along, and we talk about 3 or 4 different names for him that I've heard him use with different people, but he can't seem to be, can't seem to decide on one name. I don't know why that is. And then he eventually waddles off, and I say, he's been eating a lot. Which is fine, he's growing, it's good for him to eat, but he was about this big when I found him, and now look how big he is. It's sort of funny, but he's going to go off and take a nap. Okay, so the next time he shows up, and I say you have to be quiet around them because caterpillars, you don't want to disturb them. They're sort of busy, so we have to, we use our whisper voice, blah, blah, blah. That's the point of what we're doing is whisper voice. So then, the next time they come, and check this out. This is a really cool puppet. It's another Folkmanis puppet. But it's the life cycle of the monarch butterfly. So the next time they come, I'm going to say, you know what? The other day I saw Rumbly Bumbly, or whatever his name is, and he was eating so much. And then I looked over where he was napping, and all I saw was this. But I think we need to be very quiet. Maybe it's like his sleeping bag. I think it's called a chrysalis. It's what he's sleeping in. And then, of course, as we're watching him, he's going to wake up, and we're going to see him transform. And this is so cool. And he's going to come out of his chrysalis, and we're going to have to whisper around him. And probably they're not going to whisper. Probably going to be like, oh my gosh! Because then he comes out and he looks like this. And, okay, I do think the eyes are a little creepy on this. I will admit that. But what's really cool about it is back here is a little flap, and I can put my hands in, and now he is a monarch, and we're going to have to come up with a different name for him because roly-poly does not work for this puppet. And flitter flatter, I don't know, does not work for this puppet. So we're going to have to, I don't know, come up with a name. I haven't thought that far ahead. Maybe you have some ideas. Flappity wappity, that sounds weird. But anyway, then we're going to whisper with this friend too, which I think is pretty cool. It's way cooler than this puppet, I'll just say. But anyway, this is the new one. So along the whole process, he whispers. So it has 3 stages. It has the caterpillar, and then it has the chrysalis, and then it has the monarch, which I love. I have been pining after this puppet for a long time, and I finally broke down and got it. So I'll put a link to that because it is super duper cool. Okay, so then that's going to be the next lesson. In the lesson that I taught today, he just goes off as the little caterpillar, and I say he's been eating a lot. In the next lesson, he's going to transform. But in this lesson, Jenna, I will totally post a link because Folkmanis has like 4 different puppets, and so I'll post the link to the one I got if you want it. Anyway, so in this lesson, he goes off because he's hungry. And so then I say, you know what, I have a song, I'm also hungry. I have a little song about one of my favorite snacks. Okay, and I'm going to try and do a technology thing. I'm still trying to figure this out. But I'm going to show you what I use for this song because I use something on my computer, and we'll see if it works. Okay, so here's my computer. All right. Okay, so then I pull this out, and this has been sitting on my smartboard. A lot of times when I do a PowerPoint, I'll have one slide at the beginning that's just a black slide. That way my projector doesn't go to sleep. And then I have the actual slide ready to go there. So actually let me, I'll come back to it. So then we do our peanut butter and jelly, which I love. And so then she goes through and says, hi boys and girls, you just made it just in time. I'm getting ready to make some lunch. I'm going to make my favorite sandwich, peanut butter and jelly. Okay, and I love it so much I have a song about it. So the song goes like this. Peanut, peanut butter, and jelly. Peanut, peanut butter, and jelly. Let me see. Flip around and show you the actions. So my actions. Peanut, peanut butter, and jelly. Peanut, peanut butter, and jelly. Which I know ridiculous and nerdy. But anyway, so why do I love this song? Because they're doing their singing voice and their whisper voice. And so we do that a couple times. They love it already. And then I go and say, but I don't have any peanut butter or jelly. Do you think we can make our own? First, we'll have to make the peanut butter, but where do peanuts grow? And this is, I think, maybe become even more of a favorite lesson for me now that I live in Georgia, where we actually grow peanuts. Before, when I taught in Michigan, kids were like, man, we don't care. But the peanuts is fun. So then we talk about where they come from, and I let them actually vote. Do you think it comes from a tree, on a bush, on a vine, or underground? Who thinks on a tree? Raise your hand, and they all vote. Well, then, like, everybody is surprised that they grow underground, even though, like, peanuts is one of the biggest crops in Georgia, but whatever. So we talk about that. We're city kids, apparently. We talk about that, and I show them sort of, like, what they look like, and it on a huge smartboard screen. This is more blown up, so you can see there's, like, dirt on the peanuts. And so then we talk about how to wash them off, and then you prepare them, and you take them out of your shell, right? Okay. But how are we going to get them out of the ground in the first place? And they, it depends on how much time we have, how much we go through and actually like talk about all of this. But usually I try and hit most of these critical thinking questions. So I say, guess we'll have to dig them up. And so the next part of the song goes like this, and it's actually spoken. You say, first, then I say, now they're out of the ground, we have to do something to them because they won't spread on bread like that. They're just too hard. What can we do to make them spreadable on bread? I guess we'll have to smash them. And the kids are like, all right, this is my kind of song. And so you do, then you take the peanuts and you smash them. You smash them. You smash them, smash them, smash them. Well, now that they're smashed, they're smooth and they're ready to spread on the bread. Great. Then you take the peanuts and you spread them. You spread them. You spread them, spread them, spread them. And then comes the song in between. Peanut, peanut butter, and jelly. Peanut, peanut butter, and jelly. Okay, so then we get to the having to make the jelly. Same sort of process. What can we use? You think about what's your favorite kind of jelly. And I ask kids their answers before I show them the next slide. And we talk about all the different things that you could make jelly out of. And I have kids say things like, blueberries, blackberries. I even got as adventurous as lingonberries once, and I was like, you have Scandinavian parents. And then, like sometimes kids will say like pineapple or whatever, and you say, I've never heard of that one before, but it sounds great. Anyway, so then we go into different things you can have, and these are my pictures and examples for them. And I like doing this because I like showing them actual pictures of these things and giving them, a sense of what might be in there. And I say, since we can't decide, there are so many great ideas, I'm just going to say mixed berries. And where do those berries grow? Well, we go through the same process as before. We decide that they grow in a bush most of the time. And then we do, how do we get them off the bush? Well, you pick them. You pick them, pick them, pick them. So we figure that out, and then we say that. Well, they're too hard, they're too firm to spread on the bread if we don't do something to them first. What can we do? And then we decide, not smash, we don't want to smash them, we're going to squish them. Ooh, that's so exciting. Then you take the berries and you squish them. You squish them, you squish them, squish them, squish them. And obviously kids are like freaking out loving this part, okay? Okay, so then we spread them on the bread. We do that. And then you spread them, you spread them, spread them, spread them. And then we'd sing our song again, right? Okay. So now you put it all together. So you take your peanut bread and your jelly bread and you put it together. And this is maybe one of my favorite parts. First, you take the sandwich and you bite it. You bite it. You bite it, bite it, bite it. Then you take the sandwich and you throw it. You throw it, you throw it, throw it, throw it. Then you take the sandwich and you swallow, you swallow, you swallow, swallow, swallow. And I'm not going to show you what I look like right now. But obviously, I look like that little girl in the picture with my mouth full. Me ma, baba, and jelly. Me ma, baba, and jelly. And I make a big deal out of, don't forget you have to whisper the jelly part. Try it again. Okay, so then we do it a second time. Take a quick drink. And then we talk about why did we sound so weird for a minute? What was that? And then they think that's hilarious. Well, and somebody says, well, we were singing with food in our mouth. And I say, were we really singing with food in our mouth? No, but we were pretending, and that can be fun too. And then we sing it one more time. If you want to bring this back, I have another version on this PowerPoint of just the slides without all that critical thinking stuff in between. So instead of all that contextual stuff, just the words themselves and verses themselves. And one more thing I want to show you that is that with this resource, I put in a teacher guide, and so there's another little PDF in there And I talk about all these components. So I talk about the critical thinking things and some of the questions I ask, thinking and decide, the ELL connections, because this is huge for English language learners, all the things that we're doing in there. And then the 3 voices we're using. Another reason to do this song is that we're doing our singing voice, our whisper voice, and our speaking voice for the 3 different parts. You could also talk about form in the song, and then science connections, where things grow, how they grow, and then a couple of videos that might be helpful too. So this is in that little kit that I have, and I'll put a link to that if you're interested. But if nothing else, you could totally teach the song without all these images. But I just personally feel like, whoops, okay, I don't know what I did. I personally feel like going through and actually showing kids some of these pictures of like the berries and the picking and especially the peanuts thing, like that was huge in my classroom a couple years ago, because kids don't know where peanuts grow or don't know how peanuts grow, and so that's sort of cool. So like I said, this is one more little trick from my classroom. I make the first slide black, and so then if you just press play and have a black screen, then kids don't know that there's something on the smartboard coming, but then also your smartboard or your projector will not go to sleep when it should be waiting for you to come use it. Okay, so I saw someone had a question we were going through, and they said, I have a nut-free room and a kid who's allergic to everything, so what do you do for the peanuts instead? Well, when you get to that kid in that classroom, you could say, or you could substitute what's something else that you could have that you could put in place in peanut butter. And that specific kid probably has come across this before, and I said, like, well, when I make these sort of things, I use blah, 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 blah. Somebody said, what's sunny butter? That kid, you could say, then you, instead of picking the peanuts and smashing the peanuts and doing the peanuts, you can get your sunny butter or make your sunny butter, smash it, whatever. You would probably have to look into the ingredients of what's in that, and then say, and you get to use your own words, and I'll help you. And you could do, maybe your own words with that kid. That's my suggestion. I don't think that it's worth throwing out the whole song. I mean, all the things that you do with this song, I don't think it's worth throwing out the whole song because of that allergy, but I don't know, it depends on your situation. That's how I'd handle it if in the moment a kid was like, hey, I'm allergic to peanut butter. Well, luckily it's only on the screen and it's not actually in this room. What could you do instead with that butter or whatever? I don't know. I don't know if that's a really great response, but that's sort of what I would personally do in the moment. And if I find out that it is a huge deal and they freak out about peanut butter, I would cut the song for this class. But in the moment, if somebody like brings it up and you're like, what do? I would just keep going and try and substitute out with that kid. And then talk to parents later or whatever if you need to. Okay, let's see. Yes, link for Puppet. I will absolutely put that in because I think that Puppet is amazing. I'm just going to show you honest. I know some of you were making fun of me for this puppet. I just know it. And so I'm going to show you this one again because it's so cool. Did I mention that he unzips and he can turn into the chrysalis? And then also, yeah, I did. Okay, so I'll have to show you that. Butterfly song. Denise says, okay, I'm going to ask you to show me what that is because I don't know that one. Amy also says butterfly song if you don't know it in one of the textbooks. I'll look it up. Okay, so I think head, shoulders, knees, and toes. Yes. Jenna says, always use that puppet. The extra leg always confused me, but recently realized you can also wear it on your left or right. Yes, the bee puppet has 6 little things, but you only have 5 fingers, probably, unless you're that guy from Princess Bride and you have 6 fingers on your hand. But yeah, you can use it on either hand, left or right. And Jenna, I had the same one. I was like, why'd they put insects have 6 legs? So they're just being accurate. Anyway, so let's see. Audrey said there's another version to Bee Bumblebee. Goodness me, if you are out. Love that. Okay. I declare you are out. That's another version. Great. Denise says yes, doing the buzz, 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 buzz is faster than doing one kid at a time for elimination for the bumblebee. Okay, let's see. What have I missed? Okay, cool. I think I've gotten most of your questions, but like I said, if you've been watching this and you still have questions, leave a question now, even if it's like 2 or 3 weeks, months, whatever later, and I'll come back and I'll be able to answer that. And if you have a really pressing question that you're like, this wasn't in, but I want to ask it, you can either ask it here or send me a direct message, or my email is makemomentsmatter@gmail.com. I'm going to go in as soon as the video is done, and I'm going to link in all the things that I talked about, and that'll be on my page, which is makemomentsmatter.org/videos. Or there's also a link in the comments to this video. Thanks to everyone who's watching. If you have any ideas, if you know, so far I've done kindergarten, 1st grade, 5th grade, 4th grade. I don't remember what the other week I did was. 2nd grade. If there's a pressing thing like, I really need way more primary, or I really need more secondary, or 3rd, 4th, 5th, whatever you call that. If that's what you really need, let me know, and I can, you know, skip one of the other grades or whatever, and focus more on that. Try and share more things like that. So I'd love to get your feedback. If these are helpful, if the format's still working for you, you know, shoot me a message or whatever and let me know. That's really helpful. Okay, I'm off to add some links and answer questions. Hope you had a great time. Thanks so much for sitting down and doing this with me. Have a great week.